every time. All right, so today what we're doing, again, we did isometric sketching. Again, the point of that is, as an engineer, a lot of times you're going to have to communicate to managers, to the accounting team, all non-engineering people, and a sketch is the best and easiest way to communicate what you're trying to design, what you're trying to build. And it's going to be a part of like any project you do in this class where you have a problem or a constraint and you have to come up with a solution. Well, your design, what you're making, will initially start with a sketch, or you'll have multiple sketches of different ideas. You'll test them, and then you'll pick one. You'll actually make a 3D model of it. That's the next big part. That's what we're going to start working on today. We're going to actually get to start 3D modeling in the CAD software that we're going to use. So today, the overall goal, biggest goal is get you guys an account. I'll walk you through how you do that, and I'm giving you time in class to get that done and get that taken care of today. So we have it for sure, and you guys will have your account to access it anytime. 2, I'm going to give like a general beginner overview of what the software is, like what it looks like, what do these buttons do, and just a really basic example of how to start using it. And then I'm going to give you guys hopefully some time at the end of class so that you can just practice with the software. I need you guys to try and kind of tinker with it, even if you don't really know what you're doing, but just start pressing buttons, trying to fiddle with it and see what happens. The best way to learn the software is just to practice using it. You do basic stuff and you do more and more complex. And then that's kind of what the class will be. We'll on Friday, we'll have an in-class assignment where we're going to make some basic shapes. Everything after that, we're going to just get progressively more difficult, include new features that the software does. And so that's kind of where we're headed today. So if you guys go, we're here. If you go on the classroom, down in general info, I have this document called Onshape account setup. So that's what I want you guys to do now. We're going to focus on getting the account set up. So I need all you guys to get your MacBooks out. I'll follow along on here. Otherwise, if you head to the classroom, this document is right there. This is going to walk step by step of how to get this account. This software, it's called Onshape. Remember I was talking about Fusion 360. That's the main software that Project Lead the Way recommends. But I was telling you that it's complicated because to download that program, you can't run it on your guys' student computers because you don't have enough RAM and your CPU isn't it's not kind of up to snuff to handle that software. Notoriously, 3D modeling softwares are very resource intensive. So like professionals, their computers probably have like 32 or 64 gigs of RAM. Your computers have 4. They usually have like quad-core or 8-core processors. You guys have a dual-core processor. Unfortunately, your devices, they're not going to be able to handle Fusion 360. It's going to like bog down and freeze and crash on you guys a lot. My computer is better than your guys's, but it still struggles. So that was a challenge. We couldn't get the Autodesk account set up. Remember when we tried that one day? And it was just a hot mess. It kept having you like validate your identity as a student. Some of you guys couldn't get in. That was another problem. And then the other issue is that students at home, you only have your computer, so you can't access this easy. And so what we're doing instead, Onshape is another software that Project Lead the Way endorses, and there's support in all our activities for it. But Onshape is actually a completely browser-based CAD software. What that means is it runs inside of Chrome or inside of Safari. So you guys will literally go to Onshape.com and log in, and there's your CAD software. Aiden? That one I would just look up Mississinewa High School in Google and then copy the first link, the general homepage for it. It's like oldmiss.mhs.k12, whatever. So anyway, I want to take time to walk through this with all of you guys and make sure that we are all on the right page. So if you open that document, Project Lead the Way is laid out, step by step how to make your student account. So the link is right here. I would go to that document so you can just click that link and go straight to it. The first part, again, this is an education plan. So I think someone looked it up yesterday, and it was like $2,000 for a year's subscription for the software. Yes, that's a big deal because we are students and educators. It's part of our learning process. It's not for a business, but that's really cheap for a professional CAD software. Some of the software is like $5 or maybe $10 grand a year for a license to use it. The professional level, the ones where companies use that software for their business. It might strike you as a lot of money, but if you pay 10 grand even for software for a year, but all the parts you make get produced and manufactured, they might make you a couple $100,000, for your business, potentially more. So this is just one of the expenses that engineering companies have. And it's not as much as you think initially. But anyway, this link is for the education software, meaning it's free to you guys. So make sure you first, last name, use your student email. You cannot use your personal Gmail. You need to use your student Gmail account, so your student email. Select you're a student, school level, you'll be K through 12. You're not in college or university, so obviously K through 12 is a choice. Click the checkbox and create your account, and it'll start it. The second step is about your school. You can kind of see here, this is asking, what's your school name? Well, we're at Mississinewa High School. Pretty easy. School website, I just Googled Mississinewa High School, Indiana, and just the first link, I copy-pasted the URL. I can't remember what it exactly is. What? Yeah, for the high school. It's like, I think it's like oldmiss.mhs.
Mine said it was oldmiss.k12.in.us.
Okay, oldmiss.k12.in.us. Yeah. Yeah, the best thing to do is just go to Google, just type in Mississinewa High School, and get that first link for the main high school page, and put that in there. This is how they validate or help ensure that you're actually a student and you're not just some punk trying to get free software to use for your business or something like that. They give it to students for free so that, one, you can learn their software. They want you to know their stuff in case you end up being an engineer. But two, to support education and Project Lead the Way. We're obviously Gas City, Indiana, United States. Pick your graduation year. And then here, what are we using Onshape for? I would put PLTW class. Make sure PLTW is in there. PLTW has a lot of notoriety and name recognition. Where is the school located? Gas City. It's city, not county. So we're in Gas City. I know, but it asked you.
No, I'm putting Gas City.
Okay, Grant County shouldn't have even been a thought because it's asking what's the city that the school's in. What are you using Onshape for? Put PLTW class. Something like that. PLTW is the big thing that I want you guys to put. That way there's not going to be any issues. I didn't have any issues in my last class. But that's, you tell them, like, what are you doing this for? Like, I have a PLTW class. Micah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's like this guy. Yeah, I'll put it on there. Hopefully it'll. Yeah, there you go. Yep. All you guys are 13, correct? You're a freshman unless you skipped a grade. This shouldn't be a problem. Just say you're 13. You agree to use this for this class and the terms and conditions. There's no issues with that. So after you then say that you aren't a robot, they'll send you an email to your student Gmail, which you should have used for your initial setup. When you get, they'll send you that email, you got to go into your email and use that link to activate it. Basically authorizes like, yep, you're a student, this is your student email, and it's actually real. So then you have to go to the email they sent you, click that activation link. It'll send you back and say like, yep, you're authorized, activate your account. And at that point, it's going to ask you for a password. Now this is important. This is your guys' account. Like the Project Lead the Way, the My PLTW site, I can control that, your guys' logins. I can't do anything for you with this. Granted, if you forget your password, you're able to reset it, but don't waste your own time forgetting it. So when you set your password, you need to make sure that you know your password. I would highly recommend go old school and write it down somewhere. If you're on an agenda, write it in the back of your agenda. Otherwise, also, I guess, make sure that you would have the browser save your password, because you'll set your password, log in. Actually, I think it'll set your password and then go back to a login screen. So you use your student email, that password you just set, and then you'll be in. When you log in, it is going to look like this, most likely. That's the login page, and when you get in there, it's going to look something like this. When you get here, just stop. Just hold up a sec. Drew, what's going on? Huh? You might be able to use that. Like, it'll probably ask you for a phone number. Well, that might be Chrome's mistake. I'm almost positive you use your email. You might be able to use your phone number that you set up, but I would more go with the email. Because sometimes Chrome doesn't know exactly what you inputted, so it mistakenly gets your username, but regardless, the point is make sure you have your username and your password figured out. Make sure it's recorded somewhere. If Chrome says to save it, make sure to save that. The whole point is to make sure that you remember that, because I can't do it for you. In emergency, you can figure that out. Like you can go reset your password via email. How's everybody doing? Check your email. It should have sent it automatically. Did you go through all those steps? Did it ask you to set your password? That's just the login. Did you get through Right. But somehow I feel like your email is in delay. Because once you do this, you'll create it. It might tell you to go to that login screen, but the email should have gone automatically. You make sure you have your I was gonna say that's probably why. Try to redo that process, and I really hope it doesn't throw you an error, given that you already used your same information. Huh? That phone number, so that would be like your cell phone number if you have one. That way, I think if you get logged out, they can send you a temporary code and get you in.
I know.
Yeah, so that phone number is probably just your cell or your parent's cell. That way, if you get logged out, they'll likely send you a temporary code and get you in, and then you can reset your password once it lets you in. What is that? I'll just do that right now. It'll be late, but I'll still take it. Is anybody else having trouble getting on? You get your account set up? Why not? Getting on what? What website? Be more specific. Did you follow all the steps already, though?
Yeah, I know what to do.
Well, don't you just... Where's your class for this class right now? How are you not on our Google Classroom page? That's definitely yeah, that is not good. Because that's where the syllabus is, that's where all these help files are. So I need you to get logged into that right now. Okay, so again, when you go in here, it's in general info, and you need to follow that document and make sure you follow all those steps. Alright, is everyone there? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time and walk you step by step through like basics of how you use this software. So hopefully I can get out of the way enough. There, perfect. Yeah. So when you're in here, what I want you guys to do, one, I need you guys, I know a lot of you guys are on your phones. Hunter, put that away. Again, I don't want phones to be an issue. I'm taking my time out of my class to walk you through how to use this rather than just make you guys figure it out. So I need you guys to follow along with me as I show you again the basics and get you started. Tyler. Away, off, and in your bag, in your pocket, out of sight. All right, so you guys, this is kind of, once you log into Onshape, this is kind of be your starting page. This is what it's going to look like. When you start making parts and stuff, they're going to show up probably in a list here. Again, you have account info stuff. This learning center will probably be useful. If you click on this, it'll open up. They have an entire kind of page and collection of videos, articles, trainings, et cetera, dedicated to certain skills, certain features. It's all about kind of learning the software. They have all sorts of courses you can take. Like you can take a sketching course that'll walk you through how do I make sketches, how do I make part drawings. You can search certain like skills. Like I don't know how to use the revolve command. You can look that up. So that's another thing I wanted to point out. Here is kind of your file library. This is where you'll have. It's kind of like a Google Drive. All the files in Onshape are stored in the cloud. So you don't ever have to save a file to your computer and then find it. When you save it, it's just in your account. It'll stay there. So every time you log in, all your files are going to be there waiting for you. So you can work on something and save it and log out and shut down. And then tomorrow you can come back in, log in, and it's going to be right where you left off. So that's a huge benefit. So what I'm going to have you guys do is follow along with me. I'm going to go very slowly, step by step, and show you how to just make like a basic part. But I want you guys to be doing this with me to figure out like, wait, what button did you push? Where is that located? Oh yeah, it's in the top left. I want you guys to get practice at that. Drew, can you get your computer open and on Onshape with us and caught up to the rest of us? So the first thing you need to do, you go to create, and they call them documents. Anything you make, any new design, it's called a document, and there's a bunch of stuff in that. So one, folders should be made for like big projects. If we have like end of the unit project, you would call that like unit 1 project. And you can keep any, if you make multiple parts, you keep it in there. So organize it just like Google Drive. Like, what project is this? Is this only for one activity? Well, I'll make a folder for that. But to start, we're just going to make this, I'm going to call it test. I'm going to make a new document. It's basically making a new part or a new design. And when you make it, it'll bring you to the actual workspace. Drew, you put your mask on. It'll look overwhelming. It always is. Anytime you learn something new, it's always overwhelming at first. Antonio, are you with us? Do you have your document made? Did you refresh your browser? Are you on the internet? Is it connected now? So you made your new part. Now you've opened, you can see I'm in this test document or test design, right? So this is the main workspace. You see these? These are the 3 planes of the three-dimensional world, right? We live in a 3D world. There's 3 coordinates, right? We have the x coordinate, the y coordinate, and then the z coordinate. That's 3 dimensions. If you take 2 of those for each coordinate system, you can make a plane. This is the x-plane. Technically, it's the xz, because it goes in the x direction and the z direction and makes a surface. Then you have your yz. It goes in the y direction and the z direction. Then you have your, what would that be? XY plane. right? It goes in the X direction and the Y direction. Those 3 two-dimensional planes are kind of what you are going to start with. To make a 3D object, you need to start in 2 dimensions. The way to do that is sketching. Sketching is 2-dimensional. You're just drawing stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and click Sketch in the top left. Right? Onshape is pretty good about giving you prompts on what you're supposed to do next. This software, it expects certain things in order for it to accomplish what you're trying to do. So you see here it says select a sketch plane. It tells you, hey user, you need to tell me where you're going to make this sketch on. I can't just draw it in 3D space. It's only 2-dimensional. So this blue box, it's shaded blue because it's asking you, tell me where you want to make this drawing. Well, you see you can hover over the different planes. We'll pick, say, the top plane. So I select the top plane. Do you see how it made a general outline of my sketch? So what it's doing is it's saying, okay, good, I'm sketching in this top plane. Right? Do you see this? We've said the sketch plane is this top plane. This surface right here. That's what I want to look at. And it highlighted, it confirmed like, yep, that's where I'm sketching at. So you'll notice this top bar, this is different from before we hit sketch. It brought up all the sketching tools because we're in kind of sketch mode. So what we'll do, I'm just going to make random shapes, but, oh, the other thing, this is really important. You see this cube over to the right here? Far edge of your screen? So this is called your view cube. It's giving a sample 3D object and showing kind of how you're looking at your object. Right now, we're looking at everything in an isometric view. That should make a lot of sense, right? Here's my front face, here's my right face, and here's my top. In 2 dimensions, I see all of those. It's a 3D object drawn in 2D. In this case, it's represented in 2D. I can change that. If I click the top face, it'll orient my view to only look at the top of 3D space, or the top of my object. If I click back on the corner of the cube, it'll go back to looking kind of at the corner of 3D space. You can use this arrow to rotate it. You can rotate it up. This is another thing I mentioned. I would recommend you guys get a cheap USB mouse. Mine I got for $5 on Amazon. The reason I say that is because to rotate this, I can right click and drag any shape, any orientation I want. I think you guys can do that, but you have to 2-finger click on your trackpad, and it's kind of cumbersome. You might get annoyed with it after a while. If I want to, if I click the center of my mouse and then I move, I translate it. I move left and right. I'm not orienting in 3 dimensions. I'm not rotating the object. I'm just moving it left and right. Like if I zoom in, I'm like, ah, crap, I can't see what I'm doing. I can drag it into the center. Right? So that's kind of my plug for if you get a mouse, it'll probably save you. And again, I like the simple ones are the best because they're the most reliable. If you got a wireless one for gaming or something, just make sure it does the basics. A lot of them have like extra buttons that I won't know what it does. But anyway, you can hit top and then zoom out. And this is now where we're sketching. The other thing you can do, I learned if you press the P key, it'll get rid of the main faces. You can hide them if you click P. So sometimes that's really helpful. Like, I just want to look at my sketch plane. I don't want to see the other main planes of 3 dimensions. So let's try drawing a circle. Press P. If you just literally click the key P, it'll toggle the display. I can't see anything on your screen. Yeah, you can toggle those. Yeah, and then click P again, and those will come back, right? So what we're going to do, if you hover over, we want to draw a circle. If you hover over for like a second or two, it'll tell you how to use that feature. You see it says, first thing, click to indicate the starting point or the starting center point. Where do you want the center of your circle to be? And then the second thing is you click a second time to indicate the radius. Are you in a sketch? You should. If you're in sketch mode, they're on. You're not in a sketch. You didn't activate sketch. Then you need to select what plane you want. So but to try and follow exactly what I'm doing. Right? So now you're with us. If you click the top view, it'll only look at this is what I'm drawing on. And there it is. Nope. If you click that green checkbox, it's going to exit sketch mode. You can't sketch anymore. You're not in a sketch. You exit it. And now you're back in your sketch mode. Yeah. Right? So what a lot of guys you've done is you click the checkbox. Well, that exits the sketch you just did. It basically says, okay, I'm done sketching. Get back out of there. You don't want to do that until you're completely finished sketching. So again, we're going to activate. You see it's blue. We've activated this center point circle command. This is the origin point. It's like 0, 0. 0, technically, it's 3D. It said my first step, I need to click the center of my circle. I want it right on that origin. Do you see how it kind of links up? It puts a box around it. I click once and place the center of my circle. Then, the second thing I need to do is say, okay, tell me where the radius is going to be. So I need to basically just tell it, well, how big does the circle need to be? In this case, it literally doesn't matter. I can click, and then I can go in and I can just start typing. I want it to be 10. I'm pretty sure Onshape will do inches by default. It literally doesn't matter. It'll do 100 inches, and you'll have to zoom out a ton. So right now, just draw an arbitrary circle. It doesn't matter. We're just showing you how to use it. When you start making a design, your units will be crucial. If you make that, say you modeled that beanbag launcher, but you put 100, well, you're designing an object that's 100 inches long. That's definitely not realistic. So that's a really bad design. So your units will become really important when you make actual designs. Drew. So again, all you guys should be following along with me. I'm going step by step. I clicked center point circle because I want to draw a circle. It says the first thing you need to do is place the center. Well, I want that right on the origin. I hover over and it activates this origin point. It recognizes it. I'm going to click that and place the center of my circle. Then I move my mouse and I'm going to make an arbitrary size circle. So if I click again, that sets the radius and boom. It filled in gray to indicate you completed a sketch. You drew a completely enclosed shape. That's a valid shape. We're good. So I drew my circle. Now that's all I want to do right now. So I'm going to hit this green checkbox and I finish my sketch. I exit back out. So if I go again, click this corner of the cube, I'm going to go back to my isometric view. There's the circle I just drew on my top plane. Right? I'm back in the 3D world. These are all the 3D options. If you want to delete what you just drew, I would do undo. You can do this undo here or Command Z. Otherwise, there's a delete feature, but I don't want you to worry about that, Hayden.
You deleted all my little, like,
Huh?
you came over here, you accidentally deleted my
Cl-
cube.
Click P. You want the faces? Yeah. That shortcut P will toggle the faces. Sometimes they get annoying and in the way. Other times you can turn them back on. Drew.
Is there any more buttons? Like, is P the only thing that you have to click, or is there gonna be like a ton more that you're gonna have to click?
There are a lot more, but right now I'm walking you through the bare bones basic. So there's no reason to know any others because they're not pertinent yet. But there are a lot, and you could even look them up. Onshape keyboard shortcuts. There'll be a whole list that you can learn. Now we're going to turn this 2D shape into a 3-dimensional object. The way you do that is extrude. So Drew, in this case, it tells you if you hold Shift E, you can activate the extrude command without even clicking it. All right, so there's a lot of stuff you can learn. Extrude will probably be the most important feature that you learn in this software. Extrude means I'm going to take a 2-dimensional shape and I'm going to drag it into 3 dimensions. If I take a square that I drew and I drag it, what am I making? What 3D shape? A cube or a rectangle, depending on how far I drag it. What are we going to be making if we extrude a circle? A cylinder. Exactly. It literally takes that shape and it pulls it up into 3 dimensions. You can see it has, again, when you hover over a command, if you let it sit there for a second, it'll tell you what to do. Select the regions, faces, or edges that you want to extrude. Then it says specify if you're going to make a new part, if you're going to make it just like an outer surface, if you're going to add to something you already made, or remove. We'll show you all that. And then you set the distance. So I want to activate the extrude command, right? And this extrude window comes up. This blue hover, it says, it's asking me, select the face or region that you want to extrude. Well, that's where I select my circle. That's what I'm wanting to extrude. See, it highlights. I just selected, that's the face that I want to extrude. You see this arrow? This shows you the direction that it's extruding. You can click this arrow and manually change it. What will be more useful to you when you do real designs is you'll actually set a specific measurement. I want to make this 5 inches tall. I want to extrude that circle 5 inches so that my cylinder is 5 inches tall. You can flip the direction. If I wanted to extrude it down, I just hit this right here, this arrow, and it'll flip the direction. There's a lot of different options for how you can extrude it. We won't worry about it. Blind means I'm just go 5 inches. Done. Adrian? Yes. So if you chose, say, symmetric, it takes your overall depth and splits it between 2 directions.
So if I put 10 on there and we did symmetric, would be 5 and 500.
Yes. It takes your total extrude length and splits it between both directions. And again, you'll learn all that stuff. You don't have to figure it all out now. This is the basic. I'm making a new solid object. That's why I have new here. So I have the face, I have the length, that's all I need. I'm going to click OK, and boom, it just made my 3D part. See that? We now have a 3D object. Alright? So the other thing that I want to show you is another just basic, this one's called revolve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new sketch. I want my sketch to be on this front face or this front plane. Right? Top left, yep. And it asks you, okay, what plane you want to sketch on? Oh, I want this front plane. I want to sketch on the front plane. I'm gonna click P and turn all my standard planes off. I click the front plane, so I'm gonna say, okay, only show me the front. All right. So now what I want to do, just to show you guys something, we're going to activate the line command. This literally just draws a line. You click a start point, you click an end point, and it draws a line between the 2 points you clicked. What I want to do, if you zoom out a little, if you'll notice, there's a lot of helpful things that the software does for you. If I want the start of my line to be vertical with that origin point, right? This is my 0, 0, 0. This is the very center of my 3D space. If I hover over that and start moving up, do you see that dotted line? What it's doing is it's keeping your line point, where your cursor is, directly in line vertically with the point you just kind of referenced. So then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click somewhere in the middle there. All I really want to do is I want to make an arbitrary triangle. It doesn't really matter. We're not trying to be ultra precise right now. If I make my triangle, that's all I want to do right now. So I'm going to finish my sketch. If I go back to 3D, you can see that is a 2D triangle that I put on that plane. And actually, I drew this the wrong way than what I wanted. So now I have a problem. This isn't actually how I wanted it. I wanted it flipped the other way. So what I can do, I just drew sketch 2. Do you see how it highlights? If I double click that, it'll reactivate that sketch. So if I go back in, I want to delete what I just made. I don't want it. You can hover over and delete it. And then I'm going to go in again. I want the leg of the triangle to be right here. I want it to look like this. And again, I can keep this in line. I go like that. And if I hit escape, oh, I didn't finish the triangle. Do you see how it's not shaded in? I only drew 2 legs. I didn't actually make a shape. So I knew I did something wrong. Well, I didn't finish it. There. Now it's shaded in my shape. It told me, yes, you did make an enclosed shape. So I edited that sketch. Okay, I'm going to say, I'm good now. That's actually what I wanted. Right? Now I'm going to use this second command in 3D space called a revolve. What it does is it takes a shape and it rotates it about an axis to make a 3D object. I want to rotate my triangle about this axis. What shape am I going to make? A cone. Right? I'm going to take this triangle. I'm going to use this axis. I'm going to say, okay, take this shape and just rotate it around this axis and make that into a 3D shape. So to do that, I'll hover over revolve. I'll let it sit for a second and it'll tell me this is what you need to do. You need to pick a sketch. So what shape are you going to revolve? You then need to pick, okay, is this a new part? Is this a separate thing? Am I adding to what I just made? Am I subtracting? And then you select the sketch line or the edge to be the axis that you rotate about. So I'll activate the revolve command, and I get the revolve window that comes up. It's saying, okay, what face do you want to revolve? I want to revolve my triangle that I just drew. So I selected that. Now it's saying, well, that's great. What axis am I rotating about? I want to rotate about this line. You see, it already started it for me. I could do a one direction revolve and say I only want to go 180 degrees. You see that? It only did half of a rotation. So you can set what you want. Typically revolves you'll do full, meaning it spins all 360 degrees back to where you started. It'll make a complete 3D shape. And that's all I want to do. I'm going to make a new body. This is a separate kind of object. There are two things in there. If I hit an add, if I clicked add, it would take my cylinder and add that cone onto it so it's all one connected piece, even though I drew them separately. So that's all I really want to do right now. So I'm going to hit OK and finish. Boom. There's my cone that I made by revolving a triangle. That's another useful feature. Another cool one that I want to show you, it's fillet. Fillet and chamfer. No, it's fillet. Yeah. So fillet and chamfer. Fillet, they take a sharp edge and they round it. They make it smooth or curved rather than 90 degrees. Chamfer takes a slice, an angular cut around an edge. So it's not the point, the edges don't meet together, they actually meet in a plane. Well, I want to do fillet. Fillet, it says, what do you want to fillet? I need to pick the edges of the things that I want to fillet or smooth out. I want to smooth out the top and the bottom edge of my cylinder. You don't need to worry about this. Circular is the best. And then I could pick how big do I want my fillet to be. What if I made it 1/2 inch? You see that my fillet got a lot bigger? It's huge. If I want a little tiny one, now I can make the radius of that fillet, that rounded edge, really, really, really small. You could also get ridiculous and make it gigantic. Right? We'll do 1/4 inch, 0.25 inches. And then I hit enter to like approve that dimension. Huh?
3 inches doesn't work.
I can't remember how big my...
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Why doesn't this work?
Because it's not big enough.
Yeah.
I'm following.
A 3-inch radius means that curve is going to come in 3 inches. Well, my whole cylinder is not 3 inches. I'm basically deleting most of my part. So it tells you there's an error, so you got to redo it.
The biggest you can do is 2.5.
Depending on how big you guys drew your cylinders. Because I could, if Mike had drawn his 100-inch cylinder, that would have worked. So that's why you need to keep track of your dimensions. Drew, are you with us? I'm trying to help you learn this stuff right now. So then I just made a fillet. If I say, oh, dang it, I only wanted to fillet the top of my cylinder, not the bottom, well, that's an easy fix. It records everything you're doing to the part, and you can go and edit it. So I'm going to come back and double click and reactivate the fillet I made. I want to go back and change it. I want to take away the bottom edge. That's easy. See, it took that fillet off the bottom. I'll say, okay, I'm good now. And then it automatically updates. See that? Another really important feature, I want to go back to my original sketch. Right? And I want to say, my circle is too small. I want to make it bigger. So here is a dimension tool that if you didn't set the dimension when you drew it, I can click on the dimension tool, click my circle, and set. I now want this to be 10 inches. Right? So I redid my drawing. Well, watch what. That was my original drawing. Huh? Right here, this tool. Also, there's a keyboard shortcut, D. So if I hit escape, I'll exit any command I'm in. If I click D, that's the shortcut to turn on the dimensioning tool, and then I can click what I want to dimension and set a specific size for it. If I want to exit it, I hit escape. So then I typed in, okay, I want this 10 inches now. Watch what happens when I exit this sketch. Everything updated. What it did was I can't really see that. Virtual students, I apologize. There. I went back to my original sketch and I said, nope, I made a mistake, wrong dimension. If I double click this, I go back into that sketch and I change it. I change the diameter of my circle to be bigger. And I said, okay, I'm done. This is what I want. And I clicked OK. What it does is it updates everything you did after that. So it goes to your extrude and says, okay, it's now extruding a bigger sketch. Well, I got to update my extrude. This sketch is still the same. And then my revolve is the same. And then I have my fillet. I rounded this edge. Well, I got a bigger cylinder, so the fillet updates to match everything. That's the real value. Technically, this is parametric modeling, which basically means everything's referenced like from each other. It's not just a set number. It's all like a chain of command. It does all these things in order. And so if you change the first thing, it redoes everything in order. So that's really powerful. If you miss a dimension or you need to alter stuff, you can just go back to change it, and then everything else will update. The last thing I want to show you is if we rotate to the bottom, right? So one, you can use two fingers and click and drag, and it'll rotate this object. What you want to do is rotate till you can see the bottom, and I want to make a sketch on that surface. I don't need to use a three-dimensional plane every time. I can sketch directly on some flat surface and draw a sketch on there. Well, you see here, it's the bottom. I want to make a hexagon. Well, for that, let's use the polygon tool. You can make any polygon you want. It's actually kind of cool. So you click where you want the center of your polygon shape to be. You click then how big you want it to be. You set that size, and then you say, okay, I want it to be a hexagon. So I'm going to click 6 sides. So if we click this, we activate it. I want my center to be right here on the center of this plane, this origin. I click once, and it sets the center. Then I can drag out, how big do I want this? I want it to be about like that. I'm not doing precise measurements right now. I'm just making a shape. I'm going to click again and set the size. And then do you see this? If you slide your cursor along this line, you can change how many sides there are. I could make a 20-sided polygon if I wanted to. I could also go all the way down to a triangle. I want to do a hexagon, so I'm going to go to where there's 6 and click. Boom. It just made my polygon. You see that? So that's all I wanted to do. So I'm going to finish that. And then what I want to do is I want to make an extrude, but I'm going to cut material out. I'm not going to make a shape with this hexagon. I'm going to remove material from my cylinder. So I click on extrude, and then I'm going to go to this remove. What this does is it's going to take whatever shape you tell it to, and it's going to push it one direction or other, or both, but it's actually going to be deleting any material that it comes into contact with. So one, this blue face sketches is activated. It's saying, what shape are you going to extrude? Well, I want my polygon. So I click that face. I want to make a, let's see, 4-inch cut. Do you see that? It's cutting into my object by 4 inches. If I flip the direction, do you see how it goes red? It errors out. It's basically saying your cut isn't doing anything. It's cutting empty space. It won't do anything. So that's an indication like, oh darn, my direction's wrong. I need to flip it to cut into my object. I want to remove this way. And I can set a depth. I want it to go 4 inches deep. Don't worry about this other stuff. This can get complicated. We're not ready to start using those. So that's all I want to do. That's the direction I want it. 4 inches deep. I'm going to say, yep, that's the cut I want to make. Do you see that? It removed 4 inches of material in that shape. So all you did is we drew a hexagon on the bottom. And we went to extrude. We clicked remove. We want to take material away. That's the shape I'm extruding. And I want to do it 4 inches. I can show you in a sec. I need to keep these guys moving. So boom. That's my part. We're making random stuff right now, but eventually you're going to make specific things. You're going to have a design in your head. You're going to have to figure out how to make a 3D model of that. It's like, okay, I have a square rectangular base. I need to draw my base. Then I have a cylinder coming out of it. Well, I'll draw a circle on that surface and extrude that circle to make a cylinder. All these tools you use to make whatever design you're creating. Is there any other questions? Again, I was just walking through basic stuff. What I want to do, the rest of class, all I'm going to have you do is just tinker with this software. So one thing you could do is you're going to say, okay, I'm done with this part. I'm going to hit this Onshape in the top left, and it takes me back to my main menu, my start screen. See how my part's saved automatically? Everything you do in Onshape is automatically saved. It's like Google Drive. A Google Doc, every time I type something, it saves it instantly. Onshape's doing the same thing. You don't ever have to worry about like, oh crap, I didn't save, I lost my work. That's a great feature of Onshape. So what you guys could do is you can go back and hit create. I want to do a new document, a new part. Call it test 2, whatever you want. But I want you guys to just start tinkering with it. Try to make a cube. Try to make a triangle, like a 3-dimensional triangle. Just tinker with the revolve, the extrude. You can make a socket. We pretty much already did that. I want you to start tinkering with stuff, and the rest of class I'm going to leave to you to just fiddle with the software, take some time to try stuff out, see what you can make. And I want to just leave this time open to you to start playing and learning the software. Next class, we're going to have in-class activity where I'm going to have some basic shapes and I'll give you dimensions, and you have to make them in Onshape. I'll give you the object, and you got to draw it and create a 3D model of that shape. All right, so that's the goal for next class. All right, so the rest of the time is yours. All I want you to do is fiddle with the software and learn.